wanted to make a short video about the Model A radiator caps and radiator neck. So I got an original Model A radiator on one of my cars, and the neck looked like it was in really bad shape, so I ordered a new one. This is a brass neck aftermarket replacement. What you do is you have the old one cut off and the new one soldered on. And these are a few radiator caps. So you're familiar with the Quail, and this is actually, I believe this plain looking radiator cap is what came from the Ford factory originally. You see Quails on top of lots of Model A's, but I'm told in fact this was a dealership option, so while they were very popular, I don't think they came from the factory like that. So let me show you the problem I had on the old radiator. So here is the radiator. Let me, well, a few things about the radiator. Let me pop this off here. This is actually an original radiator. So one way you can spot an original radiator is a few things. It's got, well, 3031. It's got these markings on here. There's mold, you know, whatever was cat. This is all brass. It's got a heavy-duty bracket back here. Some of the aftermarket ones don't have this heavy-duty part, metal welded onto the brass. The fins, if you look closely at these fins, they're dimpled. And not only are they dimpled, but the material, like it's like the brass, it's solid. The metal here is very strong, and you can't move them around. Good quality, obviously. It's lasted a long time. Some of the aftermarket radiators, these thin fins here, the cooling fins, are a thinner material or a more pliable material, and you can take them and actually move them around with your fingers. But these are like, they're dimpled, they're solid. I believe these are like 6 per inch. I forget what the density is. Anyway, the problem up here on this, so this is a pretty worn out neck. It's had a lot of years on it. It actually, it's missing the cap. Let me show you some of the problems I had. So when I try to put a radiator cap on, it doesn't even, it catches a bit, but you can see when I rotate it, you can actually, well, it doesn't fit on there. It's not tight, and actually the other one I can actually rotate it all the way off. It doesn't even stop. So this is due for a new radiator neck. It's not a big deal to put a new one on your existing tank, upper tank. But what was interesting is I can see how it looks from the bottom. So let me pop this back in here. So when you flip this upside down, you can see how it actually works. I mean, you have, so some things to point out. Let me get a pointer here, screwdriver. Inside you got a notch here, a notch here. That lines up with like two, I don't know what they're called on the radiator caps, but they match these feet here, whatever they catch. And then it's hard to see inside, but the curve gradually from here, like you can see, the curve gradually goes from thin to thick, and there's actually like a stopping, like there's a bump here in the end, and on the opposite side you'll also, yeah, you can see it more pronounced here. You see that bump? That's supposed to stop the cap from rotating. So when you twist it on tight, these things on either end are supposed to stop it from turning. My old one, they're worn out, right? So if you have a problem fitting your radiator cap on here, it could be actually the gasket inside your radiator. So let me show you a few examples here. So this one, so what you do is you match these, on these Quails, most of these aftermarket caps, these 2 feet here, whatever they're called, they match up there. So when you look inside, when you turn, you can see they're catching those they're catching the lips, and as you turn, it tightens up. And that's you know, that's a good tight fit on there. But if you have a case here on this radiator cap, this gasket is too, the thickness, there's not enough space or clearance. Let me show you here on these. There's not enough space here between these feet or teeth, whatever these things are called, and the gasket. There's hardly any space. What happens is if you were to put this on a radiator and try to tighten it, it's really, I can barely, it doesn't go on hardly at all. And you can see they're trying to catch here. So if you look inside, I'm trying to push that up this little ridge here and here. But the problem is there's no space because of the thickness of the gasket there. So there's a few things you can do. You can either file the gasket down. I have two in here, take one out, but play around with it to try to get enough space. And as a third example, on this type of gasket cap, radiator cap, you can put them, you see they line up nice, and then when I turn it clockwise, so you can, let me see, so if you turn it, as I turn, you can see those teeth are, now this is a little tough, but that's actually a good, I turned it a little bit. You don't have to turn it all the way, as long as it's a good tight fit on there. And if this was soldered onto the radiator, I get better leverage to turn it. That's about as much as that's going to go right there. But anyway, that's a bit tight too. So that's on there, but if I want it to fit better, what I could do is, if you look in here, I could try to, do something here, or I could maybe take a drill. Like this would be tricky, but you can maybe file down some of these things on the inside. I don't know how. You'd have to really get, that's a hard angle. You probably have to take the gasket out in there. But this actually would fit on a radiator okay. It'd be a tight fit, but I think it would be okay. So anyway, I just wanted to walk through that example of a little more detail of your radiator cap on your neck and caps on your Model A.